When I'm living in a FOMO mindset, a lot of times I'm missing what's present right in front of me. I'm missing the most precious relationships that are right in front of me. If I'm constantly, grass is greener, I can't miss that opportunity, I can't miss that party, I can't miss that business deal, I can't miss the growth that I want, the 10x growth, whatever it is, fill in the blanks. We miss being present and really being in a moment to really enjoy what's in this day, what's right in front of us.
This is the Untamed Podcast, where only the few dare to go. We're building a community of adventurous high achievers who refuse to trade our dreams for comfortable mediocrity so that we can unleash our untamed potential. Could you be one of the untamed few? Now, your untamed hosts, Marc Lucas and Joel Fritz.
Joel, we have teenagers and we have amazing kids. And we know that not just teenagers deal with this, but the reality is we all, to some degree, deal with FOMO. The fear of missing out. It is a real thing. It's been around. I don't know when that was first created, that FOMO acronym or acrostic. It's been a minute. But I know even well before it was ever labeled something, the reality is we all have a tendency to just not want to miss out on an opportunity, not want to miss out on a business venture, on a trip,
on a party,
you name it, on being with the boys and fishing, whatever it is, it's just a mindset that we fall prey into. Like we have this kind of FOMO mindset, and I've had conversations with my daughters often. I've had conversations with myself often. How do I realize that when I'm living in a FOMO mindset, a lot of times I'm missing what's present right in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing the most precious relationships that are right in front of me. If I'm constantly, grass is greener, I can't miss that opportunity, I can't miss that party, I can't miss that business deal, I can't miss the growth that I want, the 10x growth, whatever it is, fill in the blanks. We miss being present and really being in a moment to really enjoy what's in this day, what's right in front of us. And yet the other thing that also kind of ties in for me with FOMO is I tend not to, when I tackle a task or I finish and accomplish something that's in my day, there's most of the times that happens where I'm constantly focused on getting the next things done. And then if I don't get everything done, I also have a mindset of like, I missed out opportunities to get the things that I really wanted to do. So I think there's a lot that we're going to kind of just openly just dialogue as we just sit in the comfy couches in the beauty of the day.
We're really just here for the patio.
We're just here for the patio and the dog Maverick. But at the end of the day, it's like, how do I be more present? How do I not get so focused on the other grass that seems so green on the other side that I might be missing or that I think I am missing out on? And how do I just find deep contentment, deep satisfaction in being fully present with all the opportunities, with all the conversations, with all the things that are right in front of me today, like just being fully present in these moments. So
yeah,
that's what I got to kick it off.
That's good. It's real.
It's real.
Yeah,
it's raw.
We do have kids, and we get to watch teenage daughters, and you have a teenage son too. But it is interesting. I feel like I get to see FOMO play out in their lives because when you watch kids, it shows better, right? We try and hide things as adults or make fancy reasons that they're okay or legitimate, like this is why FOMO is good for an adult, but we see it in kids more easily. I'll watch my girls and they'll say no to a lot of stuff. And I'm like, why are you saying no? Why are you saying no? And ultimately there's a lot of different reasons, but the reason can actually be that they don't want to miss out on something that has not materialized yet. And that's such an interesting concept. But there's this idea in our head that there's like even a perfect day or a perfect moment or the perfect fun or the perfect feeling, happiness, whatever, the perfect relationship. And then that if we're doing what we're doing now, if we choose to do too much in that area, then we might miss out on the other thing. And for me, that's a lot easier to see in like business opportunity or I guess the things that I want to do in my day as well, like on a micro basis. But on a macro basis, I definitely find myself slowed down because I have so many different ideas. And when you're in idea mode, it feels like anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in implementation mode, you start to realize very quickly, I really can't do very much. I only have so much time.
Right.
I only have so many people. I only have so much money. So I have to sharpen, and I have to say, this is what we're going to do, which means you have to limit our choices. By nature, in order to succeed, we have to limit our choices. And that's a discipline that we have to form, because if we don't form it, then we'll be putting energy into too many things and not winning at one. That's where you were talking about present, being present. Whether it's the business model that we have to succeed in, we have to be present in that model in order to succeed. We can't be shifting models back and forth, and strategies back and forth, or even culture. We talked about culture in our last podcast, and we thought, if we want that culture to win out over strategy or vision, because, culture will eat those things for breakfast.
Yeah.
We have to focus on the culture and ask, what do we want the culture to look like? And we have to say no to other cultures, no matter how appealing they may seem. We have to say, this is our culture, and move that forward. So we really got to be able to say no to these things in order to see the best stuff rise to the surface.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I think for me at this point in my life, 49 years old, I think for me, it's less, obviously a lot less about missing a party. That's where my kids are at, my teenagers. They have FOMO because they don't want to miss the party. I'm not in that place. I remember when Tammy and I first got married, I remember this vividly. All I wanted to do was just hang out with her in this first week of being in the condo. And her phone during dinner, it was just her and I think I grilled some steaks, and we're adulting now and we're married and we're in our 20s. And the steaks come out, and I'm all excited. And I think we had a glass of wine and a little water feature, small little water feature bowl was in the back. I'm everything felt really rad, really good. And we just sat down to eat and cutting the first few bites of steak. And Tammy's phone starts vibrating or ringing. It was vibrating. And it was her cousin, Debbie. And Debbie, she kind of pushed it away. And then a few moments later, vibrates again, rings again. She's like, oh my gosh, it happens 3 times. She picks up the phone, she grabs it, and Debbie's like, we're going to this party. It's going to be so amazing. This person's going to be here, and here's the food they have, and here's what's going on. And I could just kind of see the FOMO rise up in my wife. I'm like, you really want to go, don't you?
And you're like, choose me.
I don't know. Probably. And we ended up staying in, but I remember in she chose me. In the early moments, it was FOMO of not missing the party or not missing those moments. But at 49, or maybe the majority of the audience that we have right now that's listening and watching with us, they're probably not in that place to some degree. For me, I'm more at a place of I have FOMO more around feeling like I'm missing opportunities, feeling like I should be at a place that in my mind is greater than where I am now, feeling like I am stagnant and plateaued in some areas. And those areas could be emotional growth, that could be career growth, that could be physical growth, that could be the health and growth of my relationships, my spiritual, they're all 5 spheres. And I have these FOMO moments where I'm like, I feel like I should be here in these 5 spheres. And in 2 or 3 of them, if I'm honest, I'm here. And I begin to get anxious and worried, like we talked about even the last episode, about why am I not here? And what am I missing? What have I missed along the journey in the last 49 years that's put me here, and I feel like I should be here in these areas? And I really, quite often at times, wrestle with that. And I think the audience might be able to resonate a little bit with that. And there's not one perfect remedy that I tell myself, and there's probably not one remedy that is a perfect fix for that for all the guys with us right now. But what's been one of the things that's been helpful for me, Joel, is to begin to kind of process through, okay, I'm here. Let's just throw one out. So I'm here in where I am. Let's just say career. We'll throw one of the 5 out, okay? I'm here, and I believe at 49 I should be here, okay? There's a gap, okay? In that gap has created FOMO massively. And I feel like I'm missing out on even what I deserve. I feel like I'm missing out in that moment on what I'm qualified to do. I feel like I'm missing out in opportunities. And all of those things create massive FOMO in me. And as I process it, I'm honest with myself. I'm honest with my wife. I'm honest with the people that I know and I trust. I'm honest with the Lord. He begins to help me see where I'm at and help me understand that most of my life, I thought the growth was going to be a steady climb. And there was massive moments where I came here, kind of climaxed and plateaued here and was there for a season and then shot back up. And then there was another plateau. So it wasn't like a stair-step gradual growth over the course of all 82 years that I live or whatever, maybe longer, I hope, 82 years of my life. But there was this growth, stagnant kind of plateau, and then a season of being kind of in the FOMO waiting room, but feel like I'm missing out on all the growth and the opportunities. And I've got to just, one step is just begin to trust that, all right, God, you've got me at this place. It's not a bad place, but how do I see this place for what it's worth? How do I trust you with the timing of getting to the place that I have aspirations and dreams and desires to get to? And then now, what are some steps that I can take? And trust you with the timing, but what are some steps that I can take to be able to grow into that place of the career and to be able to start moving that right direction? Yeah. And I think that helps me kind of process that gap and process that FOMO. So that there's other FOMO areas, but that's more the FOMO. The one I'll share relationally, there's been massive seasons in my life that I feel like I have FOMO in missed opportunities relationally with my wife, things that I could have done better, areas that I could have paid more attention to, choices that I could have made to get us to a better place in where we are in our marriage. And then it's even worse and compounded with more FOMO if I start comparing to what I think other marriages are at the same age of 49 or the same number of years married as we're married. And that obviously only increases the FOMO within me. So I just begin to kind of process those things and realize, okay, first off, we're at a place, there's a lot to celebrate. And I think for the most part in all 5 areas, the spheres, career, emotional, mental, relational, spiritual. I missed one of those 5.
Emotional, spiritual, physical, and career.
Yeah, and career. So I think all of us can realize that you're at a place wherever you maybe feel plateaued and wherever you feel like you might have some FOMO that you want to be somewhere you're not and you've missed out on opportunities. There's a lot of good in where you are. And there's a lot of good in the place that you are right now in all 5 areas of sphere. So, so that's been helpful for me because we used to have a saying around this house, not just for me, but it was funny to say it about me. There's a tendency I have to be chronically dissatisfied.
Oh, yeah. You're not alone, Mark. You're not alone.
Yeah. And I think what makes us, one of the characteristics I believe, Joel, that makes us a great coach is that chronically dissatisfied coaches help other people see things that they're not seeing and helps them grow and set a path of growth to help them grow into areas they want to grow into. And it helps me grow as well. So there's some good in that, but some of the bad is that I can live in a place being chronically dissatisfied at times of feeling FOMO in these 5 areas of our 5 spheres.
I think that's really helpful for guys to hear. I mean, it's very relatable, Mark. It really is. So thanks for sharing that stuff. It's good. It's definitely made me think about this idea of why do you feel FOMO in that way, but when you're younger, you feel it in a different way. And you use the party as an illustration. And a lot of things that you shared, I think, are things that happen to people in midlife, right? We can clearly identify those things. We're in midlife. And I was thinking about, the 4 quarters of a football game, since it is football season. And
yes, it
when
is.
you think about those 4 quarters, you and I are at a stage of life where certainly we could say we're somewhere in the beginning of the second half.
Okay.
I haven't quite figured out exactly where we're at in the second half.
Don't put me at halftime. I thought you were going to put me at
No,
halftime. Okay.
No. You're in the second half. You're in the third quarter. And, the third quarter feels different than the second quarter.
Yeah.
Because the second quarter, you're still feeling like, hey, I'm not even at halftime yet, right? So you have more what I would call stupid energy to burn, right? And I'll get into stupid energy here in just a minute, but just this whole thought about where you're at in life. When you get into that third quarter, you know that the game is coming to an end sometime. You're not there yet. You're not in the fourth quarter. You're not in the twilight, but you know that you've gone into the second half. You've had your rah-rah moment. You've had your energy, your highest energy levels are actually behind you. So the question is either how are you going to sustain or increase energy levels. You're really figuring out how you're going to maximize things that you didn't think about maximizing before. And that's where we'll get into that stupid energy, because you just had it to spend. And so you spend it in a lot of different places. But then in the second half of life, you start thinking like you are, because you want to make sure that before the end of life, or with the days that you are given, that you do make some sort of an impact. And I think that's when our mindsets really shift into sometimes harmful thinking, because that's where you get into this FOMO, this fear. And we begin to be driven by fear that is driving us to make decisions as though we're grasping for something. But I always love Ecclesiastes because the book talks about the vapor and that trying to grasp onto things in life with that fear mindset is like trying to grasp a vapor. It's an impossibility.
It's meaningless.
Yeah, it's meaningless. And that meaninglessness means like you're trying, but you'll never get it because it just goes right between your fingers.
Right.
You can't encapsulate it. And yet we spend a lot of time, this FOMO that we're talking about is the essence of that there's some idea out there that's going to win the day, that there's some, but it's not the one that we currently have, right? That there's some product, there's some person, there's some relationship, there's some word that I can say. And any one of those things, if I discover it, it will be the key that unlocks the perfection in my life that I'm looking for. But that's really not how it works. And you and I, working with guys so frequently and so often, understand that being present is going to have a much greater effect in a person's life. Being comfortable with who they are, being comfortable with what has happened in their lives, and being able to reconcile that up to this point, even if they've made huge mistakes, like mistakes with their kids. Some people, maybe even listening to this, it just kind of hits me, walked away from their children in their children's childhood, and they have not reconnected. And that road is difficult, and they look at all the loss that they have, but they don't look at the gain that they can have. And that gap and that gain, there's a guy named Dan Sullivan, I forget, I think he has a co-author with this, but there's a book called The Gap and the Gain. It's an incredible concept, but he articulates this whole thought process that you're either living in the gap or you're living in the gain. Because if you're living in the gain, you've looked back and you've recognized that you were in a certain place, but you've moved forward from that place, and that's called the gain. And if you can live in the gain, you find a lot more satisfaction than living in the gap, which is where we tend to live. And the gap is always looking that I have not arrived at the next place yet. And boy, what a struggle. But the FOMO is found in the gap, not the gain. Because when we enter into the gain, we enter into a place where we're beginning to recognize that I have actually made forward motion in my life. And you recognize that I can actually still make more gain in my life. And you start paying attention to the gains, more attention to the gains and less attention to the gaps.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and I think as we do pay less attention to the gaps in our life and more attention, lean into the gain, there's just a beautiful change that happens within our souls to experience more of that contentment, more of that fulfillment, more of that missional purpose. And I was just, when you were sharing that, I was just thinking through what are some of the other factors that really stir up inside of me FOMO. And I think one of the ones, and you alluded to this too when you were sharing and what you shared, one of the ones that I have to be hyper aware of is letting go of perfectionism. I think when I'm in a perfectionist mindset, there is only going to be misses. There's only going to be failures.
Mm-hmm.
There's only going to be FOMO moments where I think to myself, I miss, like even this week, I'm like, just yesterday, I missed the mark here in this moment of a leadership moment. And I've been wrestling even since yesterday with that, thinking through why and the fear of what happened, of what I missed. What are the consequences of that? What am I going to miss out on that? How is that going to change the trajectory possibly of my leadership?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we can be paralyzed and allow ourselves to be paralyzed in that perfectionism mindset. The reality is, last I checked, Joel, there's only one person ever walked the earth who was perfect. And it's not Joel Fritz and it's not Marc Lucas. His name is Jesus. So at the end of the day, we've got to let go of that perfectionism, and we've got to identify when we're living in a state of perfectionism, because that's only going to cultivate and bring along with it FOMO. And it's only going to create more of that gap, because we're going to live in that gap mindset, because we're really allowing the perfectionism inside of us. And again, being excellent, everything we do, wonderful. Striving to be excellent in everything we do, great. Building great habits that help us grow to be more competent and excellent in what we do, fantastic. Feeling like we have the pressure to be perfect in everything we do is a farce.
Yes.
It's impossible.
It's not going to serve you real well in the end.
It's never going to serve you real well in the end. It's just not.
Yeah. The drive is good. The fear or the self-hatred that comes out of it, that kind of frustration is never good. Mm-hmm. And that's what's so amazing. I mean, when you do watch incredible leaders, they're able to fail fast and recover quickly. Right. And that's it. Because ultimately, what is that? That's an understanding that I am going to fail, that you are going to fail, that the company is going to fail. Right. But you mitigate the failure and move forward quickly. Yeah. And that's always the best way forward. And yet we have such a hard time. We'd rather, stew in it. I wish I didn't make that mistake. And what a different, way of thinking. I'm going to make mistakes. I made a mistake. What am I going to do about it? Versus I wish I didn't make the mistake. And that's it's such a powerful thing. And yet it's so hard to do. I don't know. This is just such a great conversation, because this is a conversation that all of us feel on a regular basis. And I think you're articulating a lot of really important things right now, because I ask myself, why do I, fixate on something that's in the past, when at that point I can't do anything about it, but I can learn from it. Mm-hmm. And learning from it becomes the most important thing. But even focusing on this idea that we can do too many things, or you're trying to be too perfect, so you're not being present. That even in and of itself is a really great concept. The inability to be present because you're trying to be perfect. I mean, wouldn't you trade presence and an incredible moment for perfection any day?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's because life is imperfect. And so I just think that's so great. I don't know. There's just all sorts of stuff. Like there's so much we could say about this subject, but I think the hope becomes that our listeners, the people who are asking, what can I do about these moments in my life that I'm experiencing? If I'm holding on, or I'm grasping or trying to find something that's outside of where I currently am, and I'm spending all this time and energy and resource, and I'm spending stupid energy and just throwing, like I love the expression, throw good money at bad. Mm-hmm. And you're just throwing it all out there because you're trying to make something happen. What is the motivation for that? What is it? Because it's highly likely that you're just living in the gap. When if you just looked at the gain and the things that you had, and you just dealt with whatever the failure was, dealt with whatever the pain was, and you went back and you dealt with whatever those issues are so that you could move forward, you'd very quickly recognize that you could be living in the gain.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll say, and then I think I'm personally good on the conversation, unless you want to close with something, is I feel like when I live, we just talk through some great principles. When we live in the gap versus the gain, when I have a FOMO mindset where I feel like I've missed opportunities and I've not grown to the place I want to grow physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, relationally in my career, and I live in that place of that gap, feeling like I've missed the opportunity. When I live in a mindset of perfectionism as well, it hinders me, even though I don't realize it hinders me to let go of my armor, to be vulnerable like I want to be vulnerable with the people that I care about that are right in front of me. So not only am I not present, but even in the not being present, I'm not as open and vulnerable in my posture with people, because all of that has kind of calloused me and distant me in a bit of a Heisman posture. I keep people at distance because I'm wrestling with my own insecurities and my own stuff. So I just naturally have more of that Heisman posture. And I don't even really realize it until like even just these moments, that it really creates a strain even on the relationships because of the lack of vulnerability, the lack of the ability to let go of my armor and just be open and authentic and raw with even the people that I love the most in my home.
Yeah. The way I'd contextualize that for me would be something along the lines of that distraction, like, I guess I get amazed with myself that my daughters are aging, and I know that, and I only have so much time with them, and they can be right in front of me, and my mind can be so divided, just like you mentioned. And, you mentioned the Heisman posture, and I do agree, but we get into that posture so unintentionally, right? It's not intentional. And yet it's real. And so it hurts the relationships because our minds are divided. We're somewhere else. And what is that? I mean, it just takes such great maturity and discipline and practice. And really, truly, I'm going to make this statement because it's important. It takes people around us to help keep us self-aware, to point out in our lives the things that we need to be working on. If we don't have people in our lives, if we're not actively pursuing people to help us reflect, people that we know love us and care about us and would actually invest in our lives and have invested in our lives, then, we can't fully recognize everything on our own.
Yeah, that's well said. Thank you, Untamed. We pray that this conversation has been just a tremendous blessing to you, to be able to help you with others live in a way that's sober-minded and begin to process and self-reflect on some of these very important, thought-provoking questions that we've asked you. So, thanks again, Untamed.
Yeah, thanks again.
If this episode sparked something in you, please subscribe and even share it with someone who's ready to take their life to the next level. We're always on the hunt for men who are looking to become untamed and release their untamed potential. Also, if you found value in this conversation, then please rate the podcast and leave a comment. It makes a huge impact in building our community. We'll see you next time when the adventure continues, or maybe when yours begins.